Hello everybody and welcome to Free UFC Bet Picks show. In this video we are breaking down Trevin, the problem Giles, versus Bevon, the extraordinary gentleman Lewis. This is a really tough fight here. Neither of us can really seem to decide on which way this is going to go. Trevin Giles is the underdog at plus 100. He's got a record of 12-2. Half of those wins by KO, half by submission, 2 by decision. His 2 losses were both submissions, but to be fair, they were against some pretty tough competition there. In the UFC, he's 3-2. He was 9-0 before entering the UFC, so that's pretty impressive. Started his career with 9 wins, and then he won 2 more fights in the UFC, getting to 11-0 before he had his first loss. Bevon, the extraordinary gentleman Lewis, is the favorite at minus 125. He's got a record of 7-2, 4 by decision, 3 by KO, and his 2 losses were both to some tough competition. One was to Uriah Hall, and Lewis was beating Hall like up until the 3rd round when Hall knocked him out. So I mean, he's a good fighter. And UFC, he's 1-2. He's got 2 wins on the Contender Series. He was 6-0 before entering the UFC, and then his first fight in the UFC was against Hall that we just talked about. So interesting matchup here. I mean, these guys are very evenly matched up, it seems. What do you think about this one, Aaron?
Yeah, exactly right. You know, both of them in their last 3 fights are 1-2. They both lost 2, and then they both won their last fight, but they were both fighting short replacement fighters. So, you know, Trevin Giles had James Krause up a weight class on 1 day notice, wins a split decision that everyone, you know, like a lot of people thought James Krause won that fight. Mm-hmm. You know, whereas Bevon Lewis beat Dequan Townsend, who's not really any good at all, but Dequan Townsend is big. You know, I think that's an okay win. Townsend was coming in on short notice as well, though. So, you know, as you said, Bevon Lewis was winning against Uriah Hall. Uriah Hall knocked him out in the 3rd. And, you know, his other loss was against Darren Stewart, who we all know well and think highly of. And, you know, we know Darren Stewart's a good wrestler and has good cardio. You know, he just outlasted him. He was holding Lewis against the cage quite a bit whenever he needed to, and he was just peppering Lewis with the leg kicks. It's an incredibly tough fight to call. So, you know, we know that Trevin Giles had the fainting issue. He was supposed to fight Kevin Holland recently, right, and fainted. Like, you know, this is like a couple months ago when we were just having multiple fights, every card fall apart. It's already happening on this card. You know, now that we're back in Vegas, it happens more and more. But you know, this one was just wild. This was the craziest card. There was like 5 fights that fell apart, and they, you know, and then on top of it, we couldn't believe it. It's like as fighters are about to walk out to the ring, the fight's getting canceled. It was just really ridiculous. So we don't know how Giles is going to really look. If there's ever a fight that you gotta wait and look at the weigh-ins, this is it, because this could take a pick'em to an obvious, clear choice at pick'em odds, right? So you gotta hang tight. There's a little bit more money coming in on Bevon Lewis than Giles. And I think it's like, you know, it's really not from the tape. I think it's from the tail of the tape. You look at him, he's got the height, he's got the reach, he's in better shape. You know, Giles has gassed in the past. The takedown stats are highly misleading. Giles has like 100% takedown success, and Lewis has like 100% takedown defense. But, you know, I'm pretty sure Lewis has only faced 1 takedown. So you think Giles' path to victory is to get the takedowns. Bevon Lewis should have the striking edge. He's got better footwork and better reach. Both have gassed. Like these are just 2 guys that you cannot wait to fade, and then they put them against each other. It's like the election, you know, like, and so it's It's a really tough pick here. I think Bevon Lewis has the clear advantage. Giles' wrestling is not that good. Giles fainted his last time out. Giles has had cardio issues. Surely they both probably have day jobs because, these guys don't get paid enough. But we know that Giles is a police officer. We don't know how much he's able to really train. Lewis looks more shredded, taller, more reach, striking edge. You think Bevon Lewis can probably pick him apart. The odds here are highly favored that the fight's going to go to a decision. The over-under is 2.5, and the over 2.5 is minus 200. So the bookmakers think that neither one of these fighters has a chance to finish the other one. That's another thing. At the weigh-ins, if one of these guys looks terrible, has trouble making weight, has to get help and getting on the scale and looks frail, and immediately drinking water the second they weigh in.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the under 2.5 at plus 170 or something is an incredible bet, right? So, gotta wait for the weigh-ins Friday. Mm-hmm. We're picking Lewis. It's concerning because our favorite handicappers, we won't mention them right now because we're disagreeing. We don't want to try to look showy. They're on our last week's video. They're both shows and handicappers that we recommended that you go follow. They're all picking Giles for cardio, and that doesn't make a ton of sense to me. So it's concerning. I'm really kind of I don't know what people are seeing. I don't know what I'm missing. I think Bevon Lewis is a decently safe pick at close to pick'em odds. But we know this fight's going to go to a decision. We know it's going to be close. It's a total pass, 100% pass. We're not trying to gamble. We're not trying to say which coin side of the coin do I want to flip, because minus 110. The people who are wrong lose $100. The people who are right make $90. That's how they get you. Yeah. This is a total pass, unless the weigh-ins show us something really juicy. But you guys need pick. We got a ridiculously hot. Oh yeah, last thing. If handicappers are patting themselves on the back for going undefeated last week, or missing one fight last week, Bobby Green obviously going undefeated the week before, they're ridiculous. These are very chalk heavy cards. Unless you pick Kevin Natividad or Stefan Struve or Andre Fili. And if you did, it's just because you're looking for a live dog. I can't blame you. But these are the fights where your handicap, where people show their worth. We got Bevon Lewis.
Mm-hmm. All right, and in fantasy, Bevon Lewis is at 8,200. He's got a points per fight of 32.5 average points per fight. Trevin Giles is 8,000, and he has average of 69.5. So maybe not great fantasy picks here either, as well as we're not betting on them. But yeah, I agree that Bevon is going to take it.
Yep. So, whichever one of them wins is probably not going to be a high score. We talked about the likelihood that it goes to a decision. You want, in daily fantasy, you want fights that are going to end inside the distance, specifically for GPP, or if it's a cash game, like a double up, a 50-50, where you're not trying to beat 1,000 people to win a shitload of money. You're trying to just beat one person to double up your money. In those cases, you want for sure winners and just good value. I think, you're going to you got to fit into the salary. If you put either one of these guys in a cash play, I think that's fine. I wouldn't, in GPP, they look like good value. Whoever's going to win, you get a winner at 8,200 or 8,000. Seems smart, but they're not going to be scoring that highly. So cash play, whichever, flip a coin on it, or if you lean one way. Giles is the wrestler. Giles is a police officer. If anything, Giles is shorter, not as shredded, but has good IQ. Lewis is longer, taller. If he can keep it on the feet, he's going to win for sure. But that's the question. Do you think Giles is going to get the takedown? So if you like the wrestlers or if you like the strikers, pick them respectively. Giles wrestler, Lewis striker. In a cash game, because they're going to be decent value, whichever one wins. But just overall pass on both. There's better spots here.
Yeah.
Whichever one wins is not going to be that impressive. There might be people that lose with a a score in the 50s, 40s, 50s. Neither one of these guys is going to score much higher than that, even when they win.
Yeah. All right, that does it, I believe, for Trevin Giles versus Bevon Lewis. We have Bevon Lewis there. So our next fight we will get into our main card, starting with Claudia Gadelha and Yan Xiaonan. So stay tuned for our next video. Like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and we will see you guys on the next one.